everybody. I am still with Galactic Girl, who's come to stay for a few days. And we're going to talk about a few different things today, aren't we, Gary?
Yes, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about cryptozoology, about sort of like alternative realities. We can't forget Yuri Gagarin, because remember, he's like 60 years since he's the first guy that's been to space, which we know is an absolute fabrication, a load of rubbish, and various other topics.
We've got dimensional, animals.
Interdimensional, which so
we've got with that one.
Yeah, we've got a few little things to cover. We're keeping off of the C word for obvious reasons, you know.
One.
We're keeping off of that because we don't want to get a strike or anything, and basically
we'd love to talk about it. Really.
We'd love to talk about it, but because we know it's all rubbish, but we can't. So.
Yeah, also, just to say that this is Wide Awake's footage, which I love his footage. I just don't know how he gets all these colours.
He's got wonderful... The colours are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, they're absolutely amazing, the colours that he gets from his camera work. So, to Wide Awake.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, Gary, let's start. We're going to talk about the interdimensional...
Yeah, well, you know something? I'm going back now all the way to sort of like 1990 when I met two women I was working over in Corfu, working on the doors in Ipsos in Greece, and I met a couple of really lovely women, and they borrowed me a book, and it was Michael Talbot's Holographic Universe. Now, at the time I read it and I found it very interesting, but I didn't realise what it would do to my life at this particular moment in time, because I read it and thought,
do to your life?
Well, I just thought to myself at the time, I thought that seems really interesting, but is it reality? And now I'm thinking to myself, it may very well be reality, because we know like a lot of the flat Earth maps don't really work. There's always a problem somewhere. I'm not going to go down the sort of like route of saying we're in some kind of simulation, because it's funny, you know, you think to yourself, if we're in a simulation, is there some geek in about sort of like, you know, 200 years time that is working on a computer and we're all a computer simulation? I mean, that's...
But I have said it quite a few times on the things. It's a bit hard to say to people, we're in a simulation, but we're not, but we are, but we're not. I mean... we're
one or the other. Cause I mean,
that's what people say.
Well, the thing is, if you're in a simulation, Karen, it's like, do we actually exist at all?
The sun keeps coming back every day. I think that's why.
Do we actually exist at all? Because, you know, I know, like, you know, life gets very repetitive and you see the sun come up. It's all very beautiful, but you think to yourself, look, we have routines. I mean, I tend to have routines. My God, do I have routines? Like, you know, I have these routines that we do every day. But life is a routine, especially at the moment with what's going on. But
and he left with a routine at home.
Well, that's right. But you know, if anyone's got the chance, like, you should try and, because I think he's passed away now. But Michael taught he was years ahead of his time, and when you read it, I think for us, people that are sort of like certain levels of awakeness, it will resonate with them, parts of it. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it will definitely resonate with what's going on. Because for me, you know, the Mandela effect is a real thing. It's actually happening, you know. And what I said on my last podcast, it's the written word is written in stone.
My thing is that even if you go and look up 9/11 now, you have to get to about page 6 before you see a building going down. You used to go there and the first thing you see was hoax, and so forth. Now all that's gone because Google have changed everything, but they've Mandela'd the history pot.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is,
you know what I told you? The one thing is they've got us because YouTube is owned by them, Facebook is owned by them,
everything.
Google is owned by them. They're watching us. They know how many people have woken up, so they know how to counteract it. That's what I think.
I'm wondering whether they do this to sort of like say, oh no, it's not a Mandela effect. We're like changing things.
Well, the question is, right?
Is it happening both? I think maybe
me and Gary have talked about this quite a bit already. What it is it's almost as if we were in something else a few years ago, and we're in something else now. The people that we loved, our families and friends,
they seem different.
They're all different. So what you're saying is, it's like they're the same, but they're not. Well,
do you know something? Me and Karen were talking about this last night, and what we were saying was, you know, that it seems like this place looks like it's the same, but with subtle little differences. And I'll tell you what I noticed on the way. I had to get 3 buses on the way down here, and I especially sort of like realised something was wrong when I've got the bus from Reading down to Thatcham. I passed one hospital, that I used to sort of like deliver to many years ago, like the Spa Hospital just outside Reading, just past Thames Valley Police Force. And I went to that place like, you know, hundreds of times, you know, delivering chemotherapy drugs, and that was my job at a time. And I didn't realise chemotherapy was poison. It was just a job to me. I didn't know any different, like we all didn't. But going down that road, I see subtle differences. I can't sort of like say what they were, but it didn't look the same. Now, I hadn't been down there for like a good, I suppose, 2 or 3 years, but that road, but the bottom end of the Bath Road or whatever it is, I don't know. But it actually looked quite different. I noticed that another bus I got down to sort of like Heathrow Airport, you know, I was looking around at places I've been to before, and they look the same but different. It's very hard to actually, I don't think there's no terminology.
Or do you think it's your mind doing that because you've woken up?
Maybe it's our mind. Maybe we're breaking down a veil and we're seeing the reality of how things actually are. So basically, before, through the indoctrination program and television and movies and all the rest of it, you know, radio, whatever, we sort of like had the cloaked sort of like vision of things. And it's very strange actually, because I have to say it, I still like the early episodes of Star Trek with William Shatner. And I was watching one the other day, and it was one where they went at the teleporter thing, beam me up Scotty thing, which by the way has been Mandela affected. He never said that. He never said beam me up Scotty. Not in this reality. Anyway, they ended up on another sort of like Enterprise with the same people, but they were different. It was like Spock was a different person, and I think it was Captain Kirk, the Doctor, and a couple of others, and I ended up like in another ship, but it wasn't the original sort of like crew member. They looked the same, but it wasn't them, and they were like a ruthless version, and it just got me thinking. I feel like this is what I am at the moment. I'm 60 years old now, and I feel like this place isn't the place that we used to live in. It's strange because this morning we was watching a bit of TV, weren't we? We was watching Forces. People don't know you watch TV occasionally. You don't watch the news.
You were watching it.
I was watching. No, what happened was when Karen was making a bit of breakfast, like I was watching Forces TV.
A second, the film's going to finish in a sec. Should we just change the film?
Okay.
Hang on a second, everybody. We're changing scenery.
So his graphics are fantastic.
There you go. We're back on. We've got more. Right. We've got more wide awake.
More sort of like reality or unreality stuff. Well, anyway, I was watching a program that I used to love from the late 70s, early 80s, and it was called Citizen Smith. Now, it was about this guy that, power to the people, he lived down in Tooting, and he was trying to sort of like, he was a freedom fighter. And, you know, Karen was watching it a little bit with me, and it looked different. Now, I know Tooting.
Yeah, it just...
I know Tooting very well, because it used to be, when I used to do multi-drop, like, it used to be one of my delivery areas. Southwest London was my delivery area, and, like, I looked at it, and I thought, that is a Tooting I can remember. But now, I've been down there quite recently, and it just looks different. I know you could turn around and say, oh yeah, but Gal, buildings have been put up and might be another. Yeah, okay, you're always going to get that. But even the existing buildings look different, and I can't really put my finger on it. It's a very bizarre thing.
It's really strange that, like, when we went to London, I know London has old buildings in it, but now you look and it's just like, wow, I didn't realise there was so many old buildings.
Exactly, and this is what I find. I go to places and I see
noticing much more.
Well, I'm wondering, like the more weight you become, like, and you're breaking the veil down, you see things that were maybe always there, but now you didn't see them before. And now you're seeing them. And we was talking the other night about sort of like, you know, a couple of Mandela sort of like spelling. Now, I know when I was at school, right, because I made a mistake. Like when you spelt dilemma, I spelt it D-I-L, and my spelling's terrible, sorry, D-I-L-E-M-A, and the teacher come up and said, no, it's wrong, you got a silent N in it. And now it's spelt with 2 M's. It's spelt with, the dilemma is spelt with 2 M's, and for me, cemetery, it's funny because we asked Karen's daughter last night how you spelt cemetery, and she spelt it the way we see it now, with a T-E-R-R-Y. But I remember it with an A. I remember it because every time I see it now, it doesn't look right. And there's a Fratcham Cemeteries up the road. When I arrived there, and I looked and I thought it just doesn't look right, you know. And then, but if you look in all the textbooks, it's always been spelt that way. And it's a very bizarre thing how like how you notice these things. I mean, there's so much of it. What's your take on it, Karen? You know, it's just like you.
I think I remember cemetery as an ARY.
Yes. You know something? I think because like what you got to remember, a lot of people are.
I wonder what the difference between Ari and Uri is then.
Well, God only knows, but you see, the thing is,
because they always will be.
Well, Karen's a bit younger than me, a fair bit younger, I may say. You never ask a woman like her age, and then I'm not getting a slap round the head. My glass will come off. Yeah, she done it. No, the thing is, you know, I think a lot of people our age, and I see it myself where I live, are starting to get dementia in one thing or another. Well, I've got a physical disability, but my mind's as sharp as a die. You know, that is one good thing about me, and I can remember all these things, and I can remember very well, you know, how things were before, and things just don't look the same now. And a lot of people can turn around and say, well, you know, it's bad memory. You got your memory's going because of your age and one thing or another. But it's not just me. You know, this is a worldwide phenomenon where people are seeing.
Well, we
changes.
Can ask everybody. Does everybody? I mean, the one they did publicly was that didn't bother Americans, but we had Snicker bars, and are they Snickers?
Snickers, weren't they? Were they Snickers? Yeah.
No, they were marathons.
Yeah.
And they turned into Snickers.
That's the day when I used to eat chocolate.
They did that one publicly. It just changed, but we all knew it went from marathon to Snickers. But I don't know what the matter with marathon was. But anyway, it went from marathon to Snickers. But why not just tell us they're changing the names?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, the big one for me is when I was a kid, because I remember my mum used to have it. And I used to go and nick a bit of it because I had very light, dry skin. So I used to nick her oil of Ulay with a U. But now it's oil of Olay. And I've actually asked other people about this, like my kind of age. I said, oh, yeah, someone just recently said to me, oh, yeah, that was oil of Ulay. You know, is it a different company? I said, no. I said, in this reality, as far as I know, it's always been oil of Olay. But I do remember it Ulay. That's my own personal one. But there's so much.
Do you know, I did one before where this guy, right, he worked in a video shop, and there was a film, I can't remember what the film is now, but he said that the film came out, and what he remembers mending the video because it was always breaking down when this video was rented out. But now they're saying the film was never made, but he remembers the video to it breaking down all the time.
This is it. There's little subtle differences. It's like we've almost jumped into like some kind of like alternative reality where we can see
it's ugly here.
It's ugly, and you know, I said to Karen last night, you know, I feel like sometimes I really don't want to be here anymore. It's like a horrible place to think, you know. I mean, if I live sort of like as old as sort of like
people like you and me just gravitate together, don't we?
That's right. Well, I've got another 13.
Sensitive. Amy's another one. We're
empaths. Exactly. We're empaths, like, and we can feel. I feel other people's pain as well. I know Karen does, but you know, if I live as old as what Prince Philip does, I've got another 39 years here, and I don't know if I want another 39 years the way things are. I mean, you know, especially what's going on at the moment, which we can't really talk about. But
well, we think that, like for instance, that Prince Philip probably died about a year ago.
It's a very bizarre date, Karen. It was like a satanic date. 666, it's a satanic date, like when he passed away. You know, I mean, it could be coincidence that he passed away on that day, but you know, who's to say? We just don't know anymore. We don't know what the hell's going on. But you know, back to this reality jumping thing. You know, I'm not the first one to say this, I admit, but it seems like
that's all mirroring.
That's wonderful, isn't it? There's the sun going down there, isn't it?
Where the boat is. That's all mirroring.
But it's like it looks the same, this place, but it isn't. And I find people that I knew before seem different now. We were saying that, weren't we, Karen? People like they might look the same, but they appear different to us. I mean, all right, you could turn around and say it's this thing that's going on, but I recognised it before that even. Yeah, it's very bizarre. We just don't know what the hell's going on.
You mean the people without souls and hearts? We're living in a zombie land.
Something like that, and you know, we're wondering whether
did they go, we're switching the light off, and it worked for them.
Yeah, maybe like this is it, and you know something, a lot of truthers now are saying, oh,
we're not with a bunch of cyborgs, are we?
Yeah, this is what it is. They're
looking. Are we cyborgs though? Because we've got plasma in our veins.
What's happening is they're looking. Anymore. What's happening is they're looking for not one individual person, but they're looking for a group of people. And unfortunately, lads and lasses out there, I think we're it. So basically, it's their way of like putting all the sheep in one little pen, i.e., like all us. So let's see the ones who sort of like partake to everything, and then the ones that don't. What that actually means is I have no idea, but there does seem some kind of separation to me now with the human race in general.
I don't feel I've got anything in common with my own children, my own parents, the neighbours. I'm just in a different place to them.
Well, I'll give you a little story. Like last week,
they really hurt me, all these people.
Over Easter, I went to see one of my friends, and she was very good to me. A couple of times I could have been homeless, and she put me up in 2 times. Very good friend of mine. I went to see her, and we done a load of karaoke. A couple of her friends come round. We was all kissing and hugging, exactly how we all used to be. Because although they're not sort of like wide awake as much as what we are, excuse the pun, wide awake. They're on board with a lot of things, like especially with this, and we're having a good old laugh and a joke, dancing around, and that was fine. The next day, I met another couple of friends in a park. They was all masked up, and the difference was like phenomenal, from one extreme to the other. Keeping it in a park, this was as well, and it just made me think. It's like there seems to be a split off point now with everybody. We're sort of like you've got people like us and people. I hate to say
I did
it,
tell you
like
we're not in Jacob's Ladder, are we?
Well,
do you remember that film?
Jacob's Ladder. Yeah, who was in it? I can't remember.
Well, it was these soldiers, and they should have been super soldiers, and they gave them injections so that they'd go and kill the enemy. Yeah. It's just they turned around and killed each other. And basically, I didn't realise that, but when I went to see it, but afterwards. But basically, you're with the soldier as he's dying, and he has different realities.
Yeah,
He's got one where he's a postman and one where he's a soldier, and you can't work out which because they're flicking backwards and forwards between these realities.
Yeah.
In the reality where he's a postman, there's always a devil, and he tries to catch up with the devil. But really, you're just with him while he's dying. Well,
I'll tell you something very strange.
It's a long death, then, isn't it, Gary? Here,
it's a long death. It's like we're all. But I sometimes think to myself, like one of the truthers used to say to me down at Hyde Park. He used to say, "We're actually dead now, and we're born once we pass." I mean,
someone put a question in there. When do we die? I said, the moment we're born.
Yeah.
Cut that cord.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know what? We might have all come back here for a reason, and maybe all truthers have been here many times before, and we can see the fallacy straight away. But that rice, have you ever seen the rice experiment where, if you put a rice light in a jar or whatever, and you're very nice to one of them and then be horrible to another, there might be something in that, because my friend downstairs, he done many years in horticulture, and he gave me 2 spider plants and another plant, and what I've done with the spider plants, I haven't been really nasty to one of them, but I've been nicer to the other one. And the one I've been nicer to does seem to be doing better than the one I haven't seen man and said, "Oh, you're a dirty, rotten scoundrel" or anything to the plant, but I haven't been as nice to that plant as what I've been to the other one. But it just might be coincidence. I mean,
start being nice to the other one and see if it starts to flourish.
It's a very bizarre thing, but. It does seem like it's happening, because one of them does seem to be wilting.
Because we drink cups of tea, everything's got water in it. If water's got memory, what are we drinking? What's going on?
The thing is, like, I think we're probably being poisoned on a grand scale, aren't we? Everything we have is like.
Do you know the Victorians were doing that? They wanted to say white bread, so they used to put chemicals in the bread, and of course it used to kill the people.
What's happening now? I mean, has things ever changed?
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to have rules and regulations, but they're all a load of rubbish, and they don't work.
Of course not. No, nothing does. I mean, it's got ridiculous.
It's a bit like when you said that you went out you did your charity in your world. You did that charity, raised that money.
I did it for the right reasons,
right reasons to give that money to charity, and then you find out afterwards that the shareholders or the committee get it all.
Well, do you know something? I was speaking to Karen about this last night. I said, I done a hangout last night with Robert, what's his name? Fruch.
Yeah, Robert Fruch.
Robert Fruch, the Truth Channel, and he was over in South Carolina on the beach, and he had a right good hangout. I was just holding back. He was like the main contributor, but I sort of like chirped up a little bit, and we was talking about tsunamis and one thing and another, and I said this might be of some interest to any of my friends that are over in Portugal. One of my friends in Portugal, she said that they had a tsunami warning or something on the beach, and they had a sign up there. And I thought, well, how can you sort of like see a tsunami warning in advance unless it was sort of like tailor made and a construct? It sounds very bizarre. And I said to Robert, I said, well, you know, what do you think about tsunamis? Is it possible?
Maybe you could find out whether it was from a few days before, but they left it up for a few days just in case.
I'm going to find out later. But the thing is, they obviously can be a man-made construct. I don't trust those things.
I made my own video, Gary. How I just find it really weird that this wave starts coming in, and it could be a mile long. Yeah. And then as it hits land, it's all boisterous. Even when it splits up into 20 different strands, it's like, "Oh, we're coming to get everybody. We're going to kill everything in sight." That's the waves are like that.
Yeah.
And then it comes in for as long as it does. Then it stops, completely stops. And instead of just like the places being affected with the water, it starts going back out again. It starts retreating, but not in the same way it came in. It just retreats. But how can that water do that?
But you said
once it's flooded everywhere, it should slowly go back out because it's flooded. But it doesn't. It immediately starts going back out again.
Well, if you notice, with all
the houses and people in it.
Well, you know, I mean, what Robert was saying, that there is a possibility it can be a construct. I mean, they have got weapons that could do it. But he was telling me about some kind of phosphorus stuff that's sort of like a very small part of it can sort of like explode to a phenomenal sort of like level. So it is possible. But I mean, that Asian tsunami, if you remember it, I mean, I do very well. Well, what Karen was saying now, I did in my, well, I suppose semi-unawakened state, I did this thing for charity.
If they say it's all powered by a wave, how come the wave stops, stands still for maybe a minute or two, and then retreats back out? I can't work that one out.
But if you remember the Asian tsunami, the water did sort of like go inland a fair way, and I mean, it can be a natural event, but it can also be a man-made event.
Well, it's electrical, isn't it?
Well, Robert thought that Fukushima was done, the one in Japan. He thought that might have been a man-made event. But it's strange really, because I should have sort of like phoned up my friend last night and said, did that tsunami happen? But I don't think it could have, because would have seen it on mainstream TV. Who knows? But no, back to what we were saying. I raised about £1,000 for that Asian tsunami, and I'll give it a charity, hoping that it would sort of like go to people that needed tents and food and one thing and another. Now I'm not so sure. Did it? You know, we don't know now, do we? We don't know whether sort of like, you know, a percentage of that. If sort of like say even 10% of that money went to where it was going, it's not good enough for me. I wanted 100% to go to that money. It's like, I don't know if anyone knows, like, you know, children in need. Terry Wogan got found out. He was getting 30 grand for doing it. Well, I used to do for children in need as well. But once that happened, I thought, you're having a laugh, aren't you? Of course, he waived his fee once he got. Cool. Listen, I don't like sort of like speaking about a dead, but once he got caught, like, he waived his fee. But would he have done if he wouldn't have got caught? That is $1 million question, isn't it? You know, you just never know with these people, do you?
So we're still talking about the dimensions.
Oh yeah, we've gone off on a tangent a little bit
because we've got two other subjects to do.
But the thing is, you know, back to this, like, you know, it's like.
When did it happen? Like,
well, some people say
someone's turned a calendar page
some people say it's 2012, but you know, I mean,
why 2012?
Because that is what sort of like the Mayans sort of like, that was the Mayans date. Right. The Mayan date was 2012. But and to be honest with you, could that be a reasonably appropriate date? Because it was only a couple of years after that Flat Earth really come out, wasn't it? I mean, you know, the modern day Flat Earth with Eric Dubay and everyone else. So that could be a possibility, you know. But I feel like I just feel like things have changed so much.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. I mean, the modern awakening was probably like around 2012, 2014, when all of us started looking at modern day flat Earth stuff.
I think 9/11 probably was the big wake up for a lot of people. Not the people like my daughter's age, but anybody our age and a bit younger. Well, I think that was the initial wake up. Then comes flat Earth, and then once you know they've lied to you once, they're going to lie again.
Well, I remember that day very well, because
it is hard. You sit here on your little computer looking at 9/11, thinking, no, they couldn't do this to us. No. And you battle it.
Well,
and then you realise with Flat Earth, like,
for everyone, I think with 9/11, it was Building 7. Because even if
but the whole complex went that day.
Even if, and what a lot of people don't know, what a lot of people don't know is all them buildings went.
Really
the whole complex.
On 1 and 2. Yeah. But 7 buildings went that day.
When like, it's almost like they done it.
The whole complex went. They got rid of it to build the one they've got now.
It's almost like they've done it deliberately. So
why couldn't they tell us they were knocking the whole of it down to build what they got today? No, they've got to frighten us, put us through years of crap and pain, and say all these people have died, and like.
To me, that was an IQ test. 9/11 was an IQ test, because I still speak to people and they turn around and say, like my mate, he says to me, "Oh no, Gary, it was done by 19 sort of like Muslims, like with bolt cutters." And I said, "Shut up, mate. You know what I mean? What are you talking about?" I said, "It's just absolutely ridiculous." But some people still go along with that general sort of like story of it. They don't look into it, and they say, well, they just believe what they've been told, And I remember at the time, like I was down the City of London, and I was watching it. All the typists like were watching it on the TV they had in there, and I thought it was a Bruce Willis movie, and it was only when
that was the only thing that was missing was Bruce didn't save the day.
I thought Bruce Willis was gonna have a Spider-Man outfit on, like, and sort of like crawl up the building and save the day or something,
I think the thing that got people was that the building that went down first should have gone second. It was hit second, and it went down first and stuff like that. So it made people question it. But I think 9/11 was the way.
Yeah, 9/11 probably was like, because it was, it was way back in 2001, like, But at the end of the day, but it was still that was probably the first thing. But then I think the next thing was like, say when Flat Earth came around.
And I think all they've been doing for years and years is to see what we see.
Well,
and don't forget, now we've had the Watts case.
Yeah.
There's that one I did the other day where that guy's sort of got no legs. He's cut off to here, but actually he's playing his girlfriend and him are the same person.
Yeah.
So who's putting that out? Who's putting those videos out? Because it's obviously not really them. They're just being paid to do it. To make it all. So who's behind it all? And YouTube, that's deep fake, and YouTube allow it.
Yeah, and I mean...
They criticise, they give us strikes for trying to tell the truth, when all along those people are lying to our faces with CGI, and they get paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all CGI. I mean, they can do... I mean, you want to see the stuff that Karen can do here, that I've seen her do, just sort of like... This morning we was doing some stuff, but the thing is, imagine these people that have got, like, the technology that is 25, 30 years in advance of us. And remember, if they've had that in the 60s as well, this is why, the moon landing looked so realistic, because of the technology they had at the time.
Well, you weren't expecting it. There's like letters in there. You weren't expecting them to be lying.
No, well, the thing is, most people just believe what they're told, and this is what the trouble is. People just like this current thing.
I know, but look, Sun and Moon at the moment, it's on 2 strikes, right? I can't even get onto one of my channels. It's got the same email address as the old Unscrambled Channel. I have written numerous letters to these people who keep saying that they're going to get back to me. It is pretty obvious, if you're an admin, you will see that there's another channel with the same email address. So that channel is fine and is up and running. Then why can't they help me sort out how I get on there? No, they just play dumb. Right? So they're doing all those kind of things to me, giving me strikes that I didn't even deserve, while allowing people to lie about losing their legs. I mean, one day he's got an arm this side, and one day he's got an arm the other side. And you had the Watts case, we've got, I mean, we've even had Marilyn Monroe. What did we notice on Marilyn Monroe today?
Well, do you know something? I
never noticed it before.
I used to have my walls filled with sort of like Marilyn Monroe photographs and pictures and whatever, and Karen done some stuff like about double imaging with Marilyn Monroe and Jackie Kennedy Onassis, and she got some like feedback with people saying like, have a look at Marilyn Monroe, she's got an Adam's apple. So what we did, we sat down this morning and was looking at it, and I thought, no, you must be joking. And do you know something? My God, you can see an Adam's apple, and it wasn't just from one person. Several people were saying like, there's an Adam's apple there. So
and then she basically puts her hand up or pouts to get rid of it all. So and then when she was
pouting, she was putting her hand up. And I mean, I noticed for someone that ain't got any hair, I can notice when people were wearing wigs, because I've done it for jokes before. and it looked like both of them. It looked like Jackie Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe, but both had wigs on. The hairline just looked too unreal. Karen's got a lovely head of hair, but it still sits on her head. When you see these people's hairdo, it don't look, it don't sit right. It just does not.
And also, what does Jackie Kennedy look like?
Jackie, well, I've got to say it. From the side view, we both were saying it. Jackie Kennedy looked like a man. You know, from the side, when she turned to the side, you didn't notice it so much at the front, but it's a side view that generally gives it away.
And I'll tell you how they might be doing the crossover. I tried to explain to Gary. What they do is, whenever I've like filmed Trump and stuff like that and slowed it down, something like John Wayne will appear just for a couple of seconds, and so you might have given Jackie Onassis a Marilyn effect, and Marilyn a Jackie Onassis effect. That in that footage, if you slow it down, you'll just suddenly keep seeing Jackie. They just do it somehow. Me and Amy don't even know how they do it, but they do it. And anything you see on this thing, apart from this stuff, like, see, I don't know, Wide Awake, you can tell that's 3D into 2D. But when we watch them, it's 2D on 2D. It's never been 3D because they're not real.
Yeah.
But we don't really know how they do it.
Well, do you know, the thing is, like, you know, for people and that
people
say...
call them lizards and everything, but they're cartoons.
Well, for people that say, like, that's preposterous, what we just said, many of my friends go over to... Well, they used to go to Thailand every Christmas and for a bloke's holiday. I never went with them. But they showed me photographs of, like, of the ladyboys over there, and I guarantee you, any man that's listening out there, right, would be fooled. And what you've got to remember, they haven't got the resources that these people had back in the 60s and the 50s and whatever. They haven't got the money or the resources, you know, but you would be fooled. So
it probably means that Jackie and Marilyn had other roles in the government or
it seems like they had other roles to play. Like we know that everyone now plays multiple roles.
Well, Marilyn Monroe, I mean, her Adam's apple, you can see it moving right down her neck.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show you what I was saying earlier about we're seeing reality change before our eyes because maybe we're breaking down the veil. We didn't notice Marilyn last night. We didn't notice it, but once we were sort of like told about it, we see it straight away. Now, probably like if you've got a photograph, you're not going to notice it. It's only when you see her talking that you see it, wasn't it? You see her talking, and then she puts her hand there.
From what you thought yesterday to the little bit of video, this is the realities that they've done to us. This is the whatever don't. When you thought she's what does she look? What do they both look like now? They both look like men, don't they?
I feel terrible now. I used to have a Marilyn Monroe pillowcase. I used to go to bed like and kiss her goodnight, and I was kissing a man probably now. Well, I hope I'm bloody wrong, but yeah, I used to have...
me and Amy noticed that they are doing this transgender thing where men are women and women are men, and they don't care, and they want you fancying the wrong sex.
And yeah, and the strangest thing is, they had like we was watching like a prelude of the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe, and afterwards we see like Jane Russell went in about 1985, and she looked like a bleeding man too. But Karen turned around and said, "No, it's because what was it? Your oestrogen."
I have said this before. You know, when us women get a bit older, when we lose our periods, we lose the estrogen, and I think that can make women a bit more masculine.
But she looked. I mean, it could have been. I'll tell you what. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
I'd be really horrified if a man said, "You look like a man."
It could have been. It could have been the fact she's had plastic surgery and it all dropped south. I mean, if you look at people like Cliff Richards now,
but you can tell because it's their jaws and their shoulders.
Yeah.
Things aren't right. It's the way that they're sitting. Like Jackie Kennedy had no boobs on her. She was flat chested.
No.
In that video we watched.
That's right. That's right.
It's all just a bizarre. I don't know how they do it. All I know is it's evil.
Well, I think Jane Russell probably was a woman because when Howard, what's his face, Howard Hughes.
Maybe different people play them.
Well, Howard Hughes was making a film with her, and he never took the camera off of her boobies for about 2 hours. So they could have been fake though, couldn't they? Jane Russell's boobies. They could always just put falsies in there.
Well, maybe they just changed their heads somehow. Because listen, one thing I was really shocked about was I was watching Chichi Bang Bang, but a bit of footage on here. I slowed it down.
Dick Van Dyke, I loved that when I was a kid.
You know the children when they go into the when the child catcher comes for them, they were never in those cages. When I slowed the footage down, they were all hazy, which means they were being put in to the footage. And I never, I wasn't expecting that. So if they were able to do this in the 60s, imagine they could do it in the 50s and the 40s.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying with like 9/11. I mean, let's face it, it wasn't that good. When you look at it now, you know, they didn't try too hard. I mean, you know, how can you sort of like, you know, find a passport on the floor that the sun singed like that is meant to sort of, you know, had hundreds of tons of sort of like kerosene or whatever, and they found, you know, Mohammed
and
Attar's
just slipped
passport,
out.
and you know, that just landed on the floor.
That just slipped out of the plane.
Yeah, it just slipped out of the plane. Number one, and the undercarriage they found weren't for the plane they said hit the building. You know, there's so many. It's almost like they're saying, look, come on. If you can't get this one, you're not going to get anything, kind of thing. You know, they said you never got you got the moon landings. Please, we're begging you to get this one because we want, you know.
No, I think they're so blatant. They're sticking it out. They don't care whether we get it or not. And most people don't get it and think it's the news or real. They don't care if we get it or
watch.
Not.
I mean, you know, generally the population.
They always tell us the truth and lies.
When they watch the news, they just believe what they're told, and that's it. And you know, you're not going to change their opinion.
What everybody needs to do is, like Wide Awake, get your camera out, go out there as much as possible, and do your own research. Even
exactly.
If you're walking or whatever it is, whether you're researching people. I don't use a camera as much, but I do other research. Do your own research.
That's right. You know, the trouble is most people.
Because we've talked about this interdimension thing then.
Yeah.
So where do you think that's leading us then?
Well, some people.
What, we've turned up in the devil world?
Well, some people think like that. There's two realities, like, and they're reaching a singularity. It's like there's going to be a point when they're both converge. Well, I just hope.
When we wake up, our world changes.
I just hope the next Gary's got some bloody hair on his head.
But what does it mean?
I can always. The thing is, I always stand near Karen when we go out. Like later on, we're going to go for a walk, like, and if I want a bit of hair, what I do, I stand very close to Karen, and I'll put her hair over my head, and you know, and I've got a bit of hair then, haven't I?
But what does it mean though, Gary? That you know, like, is it that we've woken up and it changes everything? Because my children, I see, are nasty. A couple of them are nasty.
Well, do you know something?
And they don't care about me at all. They just care about themselves.
I mean, I've spoke about this before with Karen.
It's not just my children.
And I think, like, the reason people can't see it because it's not part of their reality. They really can't. They really can't see it. It's like, you know, you can sit down with someone, and it's like they get a glazed look on their face. I remember once when I was over in Gibraltar, and I was a Jehovah's Witness guy sort of like stopped me, and he said, "Can I tell you about the Lord, my friend of mine?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "On one condition, you let me speak back to you." And as you all know out there, all my friends like Kat and everyone else knows that, my God, can I talk? You know, sometimes they go like that. You know, for Christ's sake, girl, let someone else have a break. But anyway, I said to this bloke, yeah. So he gave me all the jargon. I said, "Excuse me, my friend." I said, "I want to ask you." I said, "What makes you think?" Because he had a photograph of the Earth there. Like, I said, "What makes you think like that is where we live?" And he said, "Well, we all know that." I said, "How do you know?" He said, "Well, that's what we've been taught." I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's all in textbooks." I said, you see on the TV, does it make it reality?" And it's funny because a glazed look come over his face, and they're not meant to get aggravated. And he started having a go at me. He said, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're mad, blah blah blah." And I thought, oh, that's choice. That is. I've been speaking. Hear you sprouting off your jargon for about the last half hour. Like, I'll come in with mine, and then you give me like a load of sort of like verbal. But you know, this is what you get off of people, because it's not part of their reality. They just can't see it. And I mean, the next subject I'm going into.
Go on then, should we go?
What do you reckon
the outcome is? I mean, do everybody else feel that we're in a different reality right now?
I mean,
somehow.
If anyone was on the chat room, do they feel like, I'm just saying, does this place seem like anyone that's sort of like, say, 50 plus or whatever? Is this the same?
40s as well.
40s as well, yeah, because you know, they've been around a while. Does this seem the same place where we were sort of like brought up in? Because when I was watching Citizen Smith this morning and looking at Tooting, like when that was made in the 70s, that looks a completely different place. And you know,
so look at that sun. It looks like it's in front of where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, we noticed when we drove down. We got a curry last night. When we were driving down to the town centre, we come back. We see the crepuscular rays from the sun. And we were both thinking to ourselves, there's no way that is what they're seeing in America at the same time or anywhere else. You know, have we got our own individual? Has our consciousness got something to do with the sun we see? You know, two people together can see the same sun, but then over in America, they're not seeing that sun. You know, I've got an idea on that. That's sort of like, you know, the actual sun is the other side of the firmament, like, and then the dome acts like a prism. and it can split off in different ways. I mean, look at that there. It looks absolutely beautiful, doesn't it? Them rays.
How wide awake gets these colours is amazing.
It's absolutely fantastic. But anyway, to sort of like I'm going off on a tangent a little bit.
We've got two other subjects.
Let's go to crypto.
What do you reckon for everyone then? What does everybody think?
I want to know what everyone thinks, like whether they think like that this reality has changed, or is it the fact that we've all become awake and it's always been this way, but we're seeing it because we're just becoming awake and the reality hasn't changed at all. But of course, that still don't explain Mandela effects, because I still want to hear someone tell me.
I think the Mandela effect comes in when you wake up.
But the only
if you're
thing
asleep, you don't see it.
The only thing with that, Karen, sometimes it flip flops as well. It can go back to how it was before. I mean, Cemetery hasn't gone back to how it was before, and Dilemma hasn't gone back to how it was before. So, and then the Bible changes as well. How can you explain the Bible changes? Because there's change in the Bible, you know, like with the wolf now sleeps with it.
Tell us the truth. We've changed the Bible.
The wolf
We've changed these words.
Yeah, but the thing is, if someone had sort of like a Bible in the attic that's been there for 40, 50 years and haven't looked at it, when they brought it down, it's got the changes in it. This is where it's not like some little elf's going around and sort of like, you know, a little elf is going around and sort of like changing the writing and everything. That's what I said in the last podcast. The written word can't be changed. So with me, we've got different realities we're sharing. It's the only thing that really, there's no other. I'm still waiting to hear all the top people in the Mandela community, which they're much more knowledgeable than me. I don't know whether they agree with me or not. You know, what is the reason how we can have the same reality and them changes are there and they stay that way, or when they flip flop, it doesn't really make sense. It's like we're sharing two realities in the same space, like slightly different frequency maybe, but the realities are vibrating at a slightly different frequency and they're reverbing from one to the other. That's just an idea. It's not. I hate that word theory. It's just an idea.
Okay,
anyway,
then, on to the next one.
Right.
So
well,
we've got
cryptozoology, because it's sort of like connected with this. Well, I've been looking a lot just lately at sort of like a lot of cryptozoology. I always have done, actually, all the way from. I mean, I was 7 years old when the famous like Patterson-Gimlin film come out of Bigfoot in Bluff Creek in California. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know out there, but this has been pretty much debunked because Roger Patterson died many years ago, but apparently when Bob Gimlin was on his deathbed, he turned out to someone and said, "Oh no, it was a bloke in a suit." That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, because too many people have been seeing it. But my idea is that these creatures like that, Yowie, Owlman, the Thunderbird, all these other sort of like things are basically metaphysical creatures. They enter our reality and they come out. Now, the thing is, there is residue afterwards. Very often there's residue. There's, as we know, you get Bigfoot footprints, you get hair on trees sometimes. So that means they are a real thing. But maybe
that's what they leave in this reality.
Well, I was walking through the woods a couple of weeks ago, and I thought to myself, I wonder like whether like this is why they're always in heavily wooded areas. Does the wood act like some kind of capacitor within the ether and the ground to create a lot of electrostatic? It's only an idea, you know. A lot of people are going to think I'm crazy about this, you know. But basically, it creates a lot of electricity, and they find a way to enter our reality through some kind of portal. Because when people see them, or sometimes they get them on infrared cameras, they tend to be here for a very little while, and they basically disappear and they go off of the camera. So it's not like they've sort of like gone off into the distance. Like if you've got a camera and you see them getting smaller and smaller, they just basically disappear. And there's some of these people, they've been looking for Bigfoot for like 25 years. Like there's a program that I watched called Finding Bigfoot. He's
probably died by now.
And they some of them have never actually seen him, even though they found like residue and they found like footprints. And
I'm just changing the subject.
Okay.
I've just moved the camera. Hang on. I'll just wait for the next one to come up. Sorry, just while it was there.
Right. Okay.
These on here. Let's wait for the next one now, because this one's finishing. Sorry about that. You were deep in thought then.
I was. Is this one finishing now?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the next one. When you watch the water, when the sun is these are electrical arcings. Those little things on there. They look like, when you look over the sea, it looks like the sea's glistening. These all glistens, but they're not. Wait till it comes down. They're electrical arcings.
Oh yeah, it is. You see.
In the water, do you see?
Yeah,
them?
yeah. It's the same thing again. What you got to remember:
in
salt water.
Whenever you see these little things here, they aren't the water glistening. These are electrical arcings. There you go. Look, all electrical arcings from this thing. I just think it's incredible.
Well, salt water, I mean, passes electricity, doesn't it? So know.
People don't realise that.
Yeah.
I've been watching it through Roberts and Wide Awakes.
I'll tell you what I get. Back to what I'm saying. What I'm talking about now.
Back to your animals.
I sometimes walk around. I very often, because I can't walk very well. I sort of like put my little slippers on. When I don't, and I've just got very heavy socks on, I get a lot of static electricity, and I get some really nasty shocks. When I go to touch a handle, I get some. We've all done that. But try and imagine that on a gigantic scale where it's multiplied millions of times. So maybe the trees act like some. It's only sort of like an idea of mine. Act like some kind of capacitor, and these beings have a way of sort of like getting into our reality. Now, are they in the same reality we was in before? With what we're talking about? Probably not. They maybe come from another reality. Maybe we share the same space at different frequencies with many different creatures, and if you notice a lot of, I don't know if any of you looked into a lot of this cryptozoology, but very often you'll see a footprints of Bigfoot or Sasquatch, Yowie, Yeti even. You notice it more in the snow. You'll see some
people aren't making them up.
Yeah, you'll see footprints, and all of a sudden they just disappear. They don't sort of like gradually fade out, or they go into the woods.
Tomorrow people.
So it's like they were there 1 minute.
Tomorrow people.
That's right. Yeah.
Explain that one.
What was that? Was that again?
Tomorrow people. They had different dimensions, and they just walked through.
Exactly. Well, the tomorrow people, they had different dimensions. So what you got to remember, that could be predictive programming as well. But very often with the big footprints, they just suddenly stop. Now, where do they go from there? Well, I think they are a physical.
Machine, they come forward and go back in time.
They are a physical entity. They're a physical entity, but they're not from our reality. They're from another reality. Because the thing is, we might be sharing various different realities at the same time. Because as you all know, what we're talking about earlier about our people around us don't seem the same. Is that anything to do with it? Is it the fact that we're awake and
the Yetis are coming to take over,
or the Yetis are coming? And also, I mean, another thing, a lot of them say is discussed. That's why they call them a lot of the Native Americans in America call them skunk apes, because they stink like high heaven. And apparently, like, if you're within sort of like 20 or 30 feet of one of these things, the smell is absolutely like atrocious. Smell like my feet after I've had my socks on for a few days. Look at that, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Look at them.
Yeah.
Now you know what they are.
Yeah, that's electrostatic, isn't it? As the sun's going down.
Everything's electric.
Everything's electric. We live in an electric universe. But the thing is, all these people, you've got to say a lot of them are like, there's hoaxes that have happened. People have dressed up in suits. They've had suits made and one for another. But it's a shame, really, because I think that they're a real thing. There's been too many people that have seen them. I've looked into this a lot now, and it's not just that people have seen the Thunderbird, or you've got the Owl Man. The Owl Man was another
Triangle
one.
Spaceship. They see.
Yeah, but I think they're all pretty much on the same vein. I think maybe they aren't our reality. When the conditions are right and the electrostatic format is in the right conditions, these beings can sort of like enter our sort of like our space, but they don't last for very long. I mean, if you remember like the last podcast I done when I was talking about time slips, we probably do the same thing. When the conditions are right, we can do the same thing and like enter their reality. Like, I don't know if I mentioned like about the guy that sort of like become invisible, and people were knocking into him. He could see them, but they couldn't see him. And maybe the opposite thing has happened. I hope he never went to sort of like Yeti land and all he see like was
maybe he was in
hundreds of thousands,
and he went into the wrong part of the cave and he came here.
Yeah. I mean, anything's on the table, but I just do think they exist, but not the way. I don't think they're creatures like because why haven't they even found?
Oh, Gary, he's finished now.
Oh, he's finished. Oh, we've got to go to another one.
Second.
Okay.
Right, thinking outside the box, Gary.
Thinking outside the box, part 1. So the thing is, you know, I don't think these, you know, a lot of...
Just so everybody knows, that arrow there is where Wide Awake thinks the mirroring effect is.
Yeah, look at that mirror in there. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. Which people don't. If you don't understand that, then you'll never. Anyway, carry on.
This is a lot better looking at this than my bleeding bald head, where you usually have when I do something with you. I hate looking at. I don't mind. I don't really like listening to myself, but I hate looking at myself. I've told my friends this. I hate looking at myself. I think if I do one again, like I'm gonna get a wig, just like Marilyn Monroe or Jane Mansfield, like, and wear that. Now, anyway, back to the subject in hand. You know, a lot of cryptozoologists that have been around a lot. You know, like Jeff Meldriff and all these other people that have been around, they think these people they think these beings are actually beings that like live in the woods like bears.
Look at all those.
Look at them. You can see it now, can't you?
Do you understand what I mean?
Now I can see it. I can see the arcing coming off, because this is similar to what I was talking about with the cryptozoology. There's electric there, and it's electrostatic, isn't it?
But to everybody else, everybody looks at that and thinks the sea is glistening with the sun rays, but it's not. It's electromagnetic, yeah, static electricity. But some of them jump, like you can see them jump through the. Look at it; they come out of the water.
I mean, my point back to Bigfoot and Owlman and all these other sort of like mythical creatures is, if they were like living beings in our reality, by now they would have found some kind of evidence. Probably not skin and flesh, but they would find an odd bone. Now, if you speak to a lot of cryptozoologists that just think that they're sort of like solid animals living in our reality, they'll say, oh no, well, even when bears die, that you very rarely find like a bear carcass or anything, because it all gets eaten up by jackals and coyotes and one another. That is true, but there is some evidence usually. They usually, you know, they'll usually find like, you know,
they don't usually eat the bones,
skull.
Do they?
No, the bones are usually left behind. So, you know, by now we'd have found like Bigfoot bones, or sort of like Owlman or any of the others, Yowie in Australia, would have found some kind of evidence, but we don't seem to find that. Well, I mean, you know, the only thing I can say,
just all a history to start with.
All I can say is, you know, because Native American Indians, like they've been seeing like the you know, the hairy man in the woods like for hundreds of years. Now look at that. I wonder how far that is out.
Well, I don't know.
That stick.
So he's got their markers or their bird watching things, and he. But
I'm wondering, because it's very hard to get perception of how far things are out when you're looking at the ocean. Now look at him. Look at that boat coming along or something.
Yes, what it is the reason, very quick, because now we're changing the subject. But I get this. The reason that I've lost the boat now. Let's go back to the boat a minute. The reason you're not seeing. That you sometimes see the boat looking weird in the water is it's got into the mirroring effect.
It's a mirroring effect, it has.
Yeah.
Because if you see the boat,
there you go. This one
folks,
doesn't.
if you see the boats now, people
underneath weird,
a glober will turn around and tell you now, oh look, I can see that boat going over like the horizon, but they're not. You're getting a mirroring effect, and the atmosphere plays a part, as well as sort of like all the mist coming off of the water.
Yeah, what it is though, it's very difficult for people, because there's another one. There's the Plain Truth Travis. Basically, he goes back to the same point, and then one day he films it, and everything looks like it's here. The next day it's over there, and then some land looks up here, and some land looks long. And each day it gives you a different perspective depending on how what's happening. But there on the water.
Okay, let's even if we just give them that, right? We give them that. They say, oh look, you sort of like they're starting to sort of like go behind the curve, because it may be like a couple of miles away. How can they be explained when that boat is 10, 15 miles away, 20 miles away, 30 miles away? With the cameras we got now, and the high definition telescopes.
See for about 25
Exactly. So the thing is,
I don't understand when they pick up the islands, but I told you sometimes they're further away, but they look closer to us. I told you it happened to Silbury Hill.
And of course, atmospheric conditions play a big part, because when I lived in the Costa del Sol, sometimes you could see Morocco, and other times you couldn't. You know.
Yeah, I've been standing on La Cala. We're up in the mountains, and I looked across and I was like, oh, look at Morocco! It was just there in front of me.
Because you can see the mountains, but other days
I wasn't a flat
you can't see them. You cannot see Morocco some days because of atmospheric lensing and different sort of like atmospheric aberrations. You can't always see it. But I mean, the thing is, a globe straight away now would turn around and say, "Oh no, look, that's going behind the curve," because it's probably only like 2 or 3 miles away. But they can say what they want, can't they? There's no point. They never.
Then we're lucky to have people like Wide Awake Travis, Robert Ford,
doing wonderful work.
Yeah, doing the photography and showing us.
So anyway, as usual, we're going off on a tangent. So this is my idea: is these are interdimensional beings, and they come into our reality because
so
most
we're
of the
interdimensional.
We're interdimensional as well. So
Gary, promise you won't fade tonight. And
I might fade out. Yeah,
you might fade out into another reality.
Promise let's hope I don't fade out before I buy your place and chips. We're having chips tonight. I went in there I don't know if most of the people know in the tree community. I'm a vegan lot, and I went in there last night. I said, "Excuse me, mate, what oil do you use?" He said, "We only use the best oil here, mate. It's vegetable oil." But then I've got to take his word for it, haven't I? Karen bought me a load of stuff and then when we went into the supermarket, I said, I was reading all the ingredients. I said, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. He said, "Oh no, I bought a load of biscuits and one thing and another." And I said, "Well, it's got milk products, it's got dairy, eggs as well." She said, "You eat eggs, don't you?" I said, "No." I said, any dairy produce I don't eat.
These on soya milk. Ugh. Yuck.
Oh yeah, I have soya milk. Although your daughter has
she likes
she likes oat milk. No, the thing is.
No, yeah, we've got to go on to the next one.
We've got to go on. Right. So anyway, back to the last thing on the cryptozoology is my own opinion is they're interdimensional beings if they exist at all, because if they lived in this reality all the time, there'd be more evidence all the time. Whereas there is evidence, but it's only because they come here for a fleeting moment, maybe due to some electromagnetic aberration. Right, let's move on.
Unless they're another time zone caught in this time zone.
Yes, that's quite possible as well. Now look at them. You just missed it. Them 2 poles, you could see they look like they're going behind sort of like the curve, but they're not. See, look.
Because he's not zoomed in enough. That's why he's not.
Yeah, because you're always going to bring it back if you've got a powerful enough zoom. Because what you've got to remember, Karen. Cameras that people have got now, like the Nikon P900 and the 1000, like what Kat's got, they're affordable for the working person. Whereas to have the same lens, say 20 years ago, someone like David Bailey had to pay 15 grand for, or 20 grand. So the thing is, it's accessible now to the average person, but whereas before
I don't
it wasn't.
Understand why they did that though, because people like Dave Marsh go out and do it.
Exactly. Dave Marsh goes out and does it as well.
And he went out to prove the circle map, and then he proved it was wrong.
Yeah. So the thing is,
by his he did a moon race.
The thing is, I've got a really good pair of binoculars now. They're very powerful, and I'm waiting to go to the coast and give them a bash. Anyway, so let's finish up on the cryptozoology. So basically, I'm thinking to myself, they do exist, but not the way when you see these programs on the TV, like Finding Bigfoot and one and other, that show them as if they're.
You'd be able to take photographs of something from another reality.
Yeah, well, they do. They do take photographs. This is the thing. I mean, whether them photographs, there's a lot more now than what they used to be, because what you got to remember, people have got CCTV now, all round, and occasionally these things come very near to their house, and they photograph them. But the thing is, they still haven't actually caught one, have they? It's a bit of an enigma still. But I do think they exist. A lot of people might disagree with me, but I looked into that Bigfoot, especially in Sasquatch and the Yeti, for about 30 odd years plus. So I'm quite knowledgeable about them.
But quite old now, then, the Yeti.
It's quite old. I mean, if it's the same one now, he's. I
don't really know. I've never really got into all that.
No. In that case, should we move on then?
Okay, so the next one is
Yuri Gagarin.
Yeah, that one.
Now, I don't know if all you folks know out there, but the other day was the 60th anniversary of Yuri Gagarin apparently sort of going up into space, which we know now is a complete fallacy. And he died quite mysteriously, actually. I think in 1967 you know, you wonder like whether these people, maybe they're going to come out and say something and they have to silence them or something. You know, a lot of these. I mean, it's like Neil Armstrong.
He played Neil Armstrong.
Well, Neil
Armstrong.
Is that the one
that played Neil Armstrong?
Well, this is what they say. They say if you didn't you superimpose Yuri Gagarin's face? Karen superimposed Yuri Gagarin's face over Neil Armstrong, and they look pretty damn similar.
Yeah, and I wasn't the only one.
You're not going to tell me they were women now.
If you go to the internet, there you'll see a lot of people have put those two together.
But the strangest thing is, like most of these astronauts, it's like I don't know if anyone knows. Like after Apollo 11, like Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, and Buzz Aldrin, like they all left the space agency, and you know they all pretty much turned to drink and drugs and one thing and another. They sold their soul. So the thing is, like you know, they turn around now and say, because I think Buzz Aldrin's the only one still alive. I think Michael Collins has gone now, but they say, oh, Buzz can say what he wants because he's got like Alzheimer's now. Well, of course they're going to use that as an excuse, aren't they? But Yuri Gagarin, I think he died in mysterious circumstances. Yeah. Just like Gus Grissom and.
But they all want to kill them off because they have to go on to their next acting stage. Thing.
Exactly. See, you always.
Next act. We're killing you off as. You know, like some of the characters, you know, like say even Robin Williams, who people really
They killed off his character and then he's moved on to something else probably.
But I mean, how cruel to, you know, like put him in our lives, make him a hero and then kill him.
It's terrible. But you know.
But he's playing someone else now and it's all part of their game. They're evil.
And if you look into it, like, you know, a hell of a lot of the astronauts and cosmonauts died in mysterious circumstances. You know, like
I've shown you, haven't I? We've done Elizabeth Taylor and Joan Collins. We've done Audrey Hepburn with who was it? Audrey Hepburn and
It wasn't Joanne Woodward, was it? No, that wasn't.
Well, whichever one it is, or it's on the channel.
Well, do you know something?
And how alike they are.
I know some people like
I don't know what that's about.
Have got faces that look alike. I mean, I've been told like I look very much like Steve McQueen. Only joking.
Do you know who they say I look like?
Who?
Susan Sarandon.
Oh, you do actually. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you could play her. If they need a double. Oh yeah, Susan Sarandon. Yeah, you could do her. Yeah.
People say, a lot of people, maybe not right now because I'm getting a bit older, but in the past people said I look quite like her.
I remember back in the early 90s, like there was a show called The One Show,
and who is she? She's probably got 9,000 parts.
I was down the West End, like, and Sam Fox used to be the interviewer, and I pulled up at a place.
She's a man, isn't she?
She had big whatnots when I see her. Anyway, she come up to me. She turned around and said, "Hello, mate." She said, "We're asking members of the public, like, who you think you look like. Who do you think you look like?" And I said, Fred. And she said, "Which one?" And I said, "I've got nothing against gays." I said, "As long as it ain't the gay one, like, I don't mind." And then when I got home, I told my mate. He said, "Gal, I think they're both gay." I said, "So no matter which one you are?" Yeah, she said to me, "Which one do you think you are?" She's very, very, very small. She is, Karen. Sam Fox. She's like comes up about there on me, but it's no. I think she likes the other. I've got nothing against that, but she loves her own variety, doesn't she? She likes her own type. Yeah. Got to be careful what we say. Oh no, I've got nothing. Listen, I've got nothing against it whatsoever.
Neither do I.
No. But anyway, going off the subject a little bit.
What I don't like is how they do the transsexualism and. So you think you're looking at a woman and it's actually a man and they don't tell you. Well, most of those people love to tell you, I was a man, I'm now a woman.
I didn't tell you, did I, Karen? That
oh my God, Karen.
I brought down that other little case. I've got my knickers, suspenders in there and everything. You're going to see me like when we go for a walk around the park. I'm going to be on your arm, and then all your neighbours are going to start.
You're going to be my dolly girl.
All your neighbours are going to start chin wagging like.
You're going to be my dolly girl.
I might keep the wig though. No, so anyway, back to Yuri Gagarin. Yeah, so just like Ed White, Roger Chaffee, like, and Gus Grissom, like, you know, apparently he died in mysterious circumstances, and a hell of a lot of other people connected with the space race, like, you know, sort of like in Russia with the cosmonauts and in America with the astronauts, met untimely deaths. And another guy called Ronald Barron, like,
they don't care when they die off with how quick they do, because the next part.
A guy called Ronald Cohen Barron, like, he was investigating like NASA, and he got run off of the road just when he was like about to produce his papers. He got run off the road, like, and died. You know, so it's that big, isn't it? You know, that someone's willing to sort of like chirp up. I mean, I'm amazed really, like, that Neil Armstrong lived to sort of like such a ripe old age. He must have been a right yes man. That's all I can think. Because he never detracted. When when a researcher, I'm not going to mention his name, like, but he's a reasonably current one, 'cause I don't want you to get a strike, sort of like pulled him up and said to him, "What, Mr. Armstrong, I want you to do one thing, put your hand on a Bible, like, and swear you've been to the moon." He said, "Mr. Sabril, I said his name, I shouldn't have said it. Knowing, well, everyone said it anyway, you know, knowing you, like, that's probably a fake Bible." And, you know, he never on his deathbed said, like, "I've got something to tell you, you know, that we really didn't go to the moon and whatever," which I find quite surprising, because other people have.
Know, that's one of the comments that comes in the chat room, is that people say, "Why doesn't one of them let it out of the bag?"
They have got families, haven't they? I think they're protecting their families. I mean, you know, there has been people. There was a CIA guy on his deathbed a few years ago, and he come out of it and said, you know, that moon. Well, the thing is, with the moon landings now, anyone that still believes that, it's absolutely ludicrous. They're practically sort of like, you know, that's. But they're still saying we're going back to the moon.
Thousands of people still watch the NASA channel.
Well, you know something, we're going back to the moon apparently, because remember Barack Obama said we're going back to the moonlight in 2020, and then now it's meant to be 2024. But then sort of like you got that Don.
I don't know why you just put Obama, Elon, Trump. Biden,
yeah, I just thought about something. You're not related, are you, to Don Pettit, bloke? No, I think it must be a distant relation.
No.
Well, he's forever coming on saying, like, "Oh, we're going back to the moonlight." You know, when people question it about sort of like, "Well, we'd like to go back to the moon in a nanosecond but we lost the technology." You know, anyone with a brain cell like would question that, wouldn't they? And so we've done it easy, didn't we, in 1969? Done it as easy as pie when, you know, when no one had mobile phones.
It's incredible. They've lost how to get back there, or lost the information.
But they landed on.
And that's it. Oh, it's fine.
They landed on Mars. I mean, Greenland the other day, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They were there.
They was in Greenland.
I mean, like, no one's got into trouble. Like, no one. They are just. They're disgusting.
They're a law unto themselves, and I mean, you've got to be a certain amount of yes man. What about people that work supposedly like on the ISS, Karen? I think to myself, do you think that? Because I'm not going to mention his name because
most of them are the same person.
Yeah, but do you think his wife knows? Do you think Tim Peake's wife knows, or you know, or she in on it, or she just don't know? She thinks she's up in the space station.
Most often the wives are doing things, and I just think they're only married for the screen.
So you know,
like Priscilla Presley and Elvis Presley were only married on the screen, really.
Yeah, well, you see a lot of that these days, don't you? You wonder whether marriages are like real, whether it's for love or just sort of like for some kind of business sort of like partnership or something. It's very difficult. But no.
They sell their souls though. Why would you want to do this to your life, to lie to everybody for years on end and pretend that you're somebody else? It just boggles me.
I mean, to be honest with you, you know, one day all these people have got to meet their maker. I don't know what Neil Armstrong would have said to God.
Let's just hope they're all still going to stay in hell.
I mean,
let's just hope that we go on to pastures greener and get away from these evil people.
I mean,
here.
Can you imagine, like, if it's as we've been told, can you imagine, like, Neil Armstrong, when he got up there and he sees St. Peter, he said, "Oh, you're the guy that landed on the moon, didn't you, sir? Sling your bleeding hook. On your bike, go on." You know, I mean, you got to be joking.
No, you're not allowed in here. You're not allowed. Back.
You're not allowed in here. You've got to go back for another term, and this time you've got to be Neil Armstrong, the bleeding painter and decorator, or sort of like plumber or something.
A pig in the field.
Yeah, maybe they come back as an animal. I don't know. It's hard. Look at that there. Look, that boat's coming along now. Look.
Yeah, I think that I don't know what
he's not very far out, is he?
He's saying thinking outside the box, but he's into the mirroring effect. But that boat isn't quite in the mirroring effect. You can see them walking. They're probably not that far away. It just depends on how the day's going, to how clear it is.
It depends on the day and how still the water is, because you know something. If you still, isn't it? Do you know what they call a nautical mile different than a mile on land?
Is it glistening then? Look.
Yeah.
Did you see that boat glistening?
It was, wasn't it?
Look.
Because they have to take into account all the waves and the movement of the water.
Well, that's what I find really strange, is because this water here, look, it's glistening. Maybe that's the sun cap. This is all compressed water.
That's right.
So it's bizarre, really. But look at that boat glistening.
I mean, we don't know how far out that is, do we? It's not that far, but...
No, it's probably only about a mile or two.
Well, it all depends what camera they're using. If they're using a P1000...
He has a P900 and
he's got a P900.
I think he's got a P900 and cameras that are even better than that, but they're not the Ps. P900, like all the 1000. He's told us on Hangouts. They're glistening on that sun. Look at those birds.
Blimey, yeah.
They're sitting in a row. Look at that boat. What is that? The sun catching the...
So if you speak to a glober now, they'll turn around and say I can see the curve there. When we can't see it, we can see it. That's why we're in a different reality. They'll turn around and say, I was speaking to a school teacher once.
Well, that means everything would be having to turn around in front of them, but it doesn't.
Well, I mean, I was speaking to a school teacher once, and I said, look out there. Can't you see it's as flat as a pancake? It was over in the Costa del Sol. And she said, she was staying with me and my friend, and she said, oh no, Gal, I can see the curve. And I said, you can't see a curve, love. I said, you think you can. I said, but you're not seeing any curve at all. I said, that's as straight as a die. If I got a piece of wood that was 20 foot long, and I put it up to there, you would see there would have to be some, even if it was just 0.5 millimetre, it would have to sort of like you'd have to see a change.
But I mean, if it was bending down though, it means that the globe is tiny, and
the globe is tiny. You'd never see it. It's impossible.
No.
But even when you go up in a plane, like people say it all the time, they say I can see the globe.
But it's only because they've got the windows are bowed at the bottom.
It's the shape of the windows because they got like three sort of like layers, haven't they? It makes it look like that.
Anyway, I'm not sure if I did or whether I just watched it, but I've broken down that Yuri coming out of the thing, and it's just weird the things he does. I don't think I put it out because sometimes I think it's so detailed to say it back to people. I just can't do it. I wonder
about.
He gets pulled out on the street. It's like on a yo-yo, doing, 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 and then his body does all these really weird things because it's not real.
I wonder about all the dogs and the monkeys they sent into space. Like there was
Laika
or something like that, and you see this dog go up like you see him like with a little astronauts out on them one way another, and they said they had to sacrifice them it's a shame a dog can't talk because he'd have had a tell.
They're not real. He never
went up. I mean, obviously that was CGI and the monkeys they said that went up there. Obviously we know it never happened. I mean, the rocket took off, obviously, and just crashed, and that was it. I mean, that's what the Saturn V rockets used to do. They used to sort of like go up in the arc and then crash in the Bermuda Triangle. Now, I wonder whether they retrieved them.
Have you ever seen the engines? Like, when the engines are going up, the where the thrusters are, it goes right up, and the thing is glowing right into the spaceship. Like, there's no way those people would be able to survive the heat.
Well, you'd never be able to survive the heat, number one. And if you remember, with the moon missions, they sort of like had to come in and they had a heat shield, and they had to sort of like the return capsule. They had to face it a certain way, and you see like all the flames outside of it coming back through the atmosphere. And I mean, when you watch that back now, and I sometimes see it, I think to myself, my God, it's absolutely ludicrous how I believed in this. Well, I never really did, to be honest with you, but. We all
he's zooming in quite a long way.
To a certain degree, I suppose. I mean, I was just asking questions when it was happening. I didn't, I was only a young kid, but you see, and not only that, if you remember on the moon, who panned the camera when it came up? Do you remember the return module? It went up in the air, so it panned up like that. But the strangest thing is, they'll turn around and say, but they had sophisticated like Wi-Fi in those days, but then sometimes like I can be down the road like and I can't get my mate and he's just down the road like and then but I can get you, or I can send sort of like a text message to my friends in Portugal and they'll get it, but my mate down the road won't get it, and they're telling us like that they got this super light Wi-Fi that works all the way to the moon, and then straight away like but if you notice something, they was quite smart when they were sort of like speaking to them on the moon. There was a 4-second delay because they calculated that's how long the distance would have taken with it travelling at the speed of light to get to them and to sort of like hear them and return a message. But you
don't get a delay nowadays.
It's all bloody rubbish. It's just like I call it Disney for adults. That's all it ever was. I'd like to be on that boat now, sail away into the
it's
sunset.
Nice and warm where he is. He's down in Florida.
Just think we could get that. I wonder if we could get all the way to Antarctica on that.
But it's not that way I want to go. It's north I want to go.
I want to go anywhere that's warm. I want to go to Greece, somewhere like that.
It's north.
Yeah. Well, Greece is north.
Well, my map I was showing you.
Maybe I'll get a rowing boat and roll the way down there. I don't know. I just want to
row up.
thing is, we've had such a horrendous winter this year, haven't we? It's been long and drawn out.
Oh, I think that's also because they've locked us up.
Yeah, this lockdown ain't done us no favours, but it's all negative, isn't it? You know.
Don't forget, everybody, when you see Boris Biden and Trump with brown eyes, they have blue eyes, not brown. So on the television, if they are brown, it's CGI.
What makes me laugh about all this, you know, going off on another little subject, and you never see them on the TV, do you? Do you? Them saying like, oh, and also get some vitamin D, eat healthily, you know, get plenty of sleep. You never hear none of that stuff, do you? They just bypass that. That don't exist anymore.
No, all they want to do is sell you gambling and things like that instead.
Some of them YouTube channels now, I get so cheesed off because every other blinking, for every 2 or 3 minutes, like, there's another advert.
I know, it really annoys me.
And the adverts on the telly, the adverts on the TV, right?
We signed up to YouTube to get away from that.
Yeah, well, if you look on mainstream TV now, every advert, like nearly every other advert is like cremation this and insurance policy that.
Yeah,
they wanna
look at the glistening there. Look.
That's right. They wanna sort of like kill you off very quickly.
See that? Hit that bird.
They wanna kill you off very quickly because there's simply more than ever now insurance policy for this, cremation advice for this, and
oh my God! All it is now is you need to get your funeral sorted out for when you die, and you're like, how horrible are they?
Listen. I've got to tell you this. I was telling Karen this morning. My friend that lives downstairs where I live, his mate was a funeral director, and he said to me, because I think Karen found this quite surprising, but he said to me, "Here, gal," he said, when you croak it, I'm surprised I'm still here now. When you croak it, make sure you get the cheapest possible casket. Either get a wicker one or one just made out of wood. Like he said, "What, you being cremated?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Because now this sounds really sick." He said, "Very often what happens when you see like the casket go through and through them curtains and one thing and another, they take the body out and then resell the casket on to someone else, especially like if it's oak or ash or whatever, which does make a bit of sense because what you got to remember, they've all got brass handles on them one thing or another. You know what they're going to do with them?
Con, isn't it?
It's all a big con. And then Karen made a good point as well. How do you know like the ashes you're getting are your ashes anyway? Ashes are ashes, aren't they? They probably got like a load of ashes, sort of like ready.
Don't forget, you know, to actually burn a body is quite a high heat, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I've been watching. Do
you think that's right? Do you think that they can burn a body like that and then give you the ashes back?
No, because the bones don't burn. They crunch them up. They put them in some kind of grinder that grinds down the bones afterwards. That's what I believe.
So you're getting back the bones.
You're probably getting back like bones plus sort of like plus ash. That reminds me. I was reading the paper one day. Like the funniest thing I ever heard like was some guys broke into this bloke's house, and they see sort of an urn right up on the windowsill, Karen, and it said on it Charlie, which was probably their dog or maybe the granddad. They thought it was Charlie you put up your router. So anyway, when the people come back, they noticed that had lines on the table, thinking it was Charlie you put up your bugle. So it was Charlie's ashes. So it was either the dog's ashes or something like that. And when the police come round, apparently they caught one of them, and they couldn't arrest him through laughing. They said to him, "Sir," they said, "do you know what you done when you broke into that house?" He said, "What?" He said, "Come on, you might as well be honest with us because we know everything, sir." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I admit, I had a little bit of their coke light that was on the windowsill and all that." He said, "No." He said it was ashes. So they've been snorting like whoever Charlie was. It might have been their poor old granddad. How sad is that, eh? Terrible. Anyway, like I said, folks, save yourself.
We were doing the astronauts.
Oh yeah, we're going. I'm going off on a tangent again, aren't we? Astronauts.
That's fine. Astronaut Yugi, we were doing.
Yeah. So what we was doing was we're back to you. We'll always go off on a tangent, don't we?
We've got to finish in a minute.
Yeah, we've got to finish soon. How long we got?
Oh, we've got 6 minutes.
Okay, we've got 6 minutes, so we're wrapping up soon because we're going for a little. Well, the thing is, it's going to take me a while to put my face on, like, and my wig on, and my suspenders and all that, because we're going for a walk over the. Karen's going with her. But the thing is, you might as well. Everyone's doing it these days, isn't it? Transgenderism. I might as well join the club.
What, have a gay boyfriend?
We'll have a. Why don't you go out as a fella and I'll go out as a bird, something like that, and see funny looks we get. see if they can correlate it. No, anyway, so back to Yuri Gagarin, like, and whatever. You know, it's very sad because we don't really know what happened to him. You know, is it because
he almost looks like he's just beyond that bit where you could say it was real anyway.
Yeah, I mean, after that, the Americans started doing stuff, didn't they? Like Alan Shepard and John Glenn and all that. But he was like the first. So I suppose then they turned around and said, "Oh, we've got to be the first to go to the moon." But of course, they both knew they couldn't go to the moon. I think it was sometime in the 50s when they realised what this realm was. I actually
wonder whether they drug them, and so they think that it's like being a super person. You know, they
well,
drug
maybe,
you, so they make you believe that you've gone to the moon and you're in a space station.
Well, maybe they've been MK Ultra'd, like, you know.
But then I saw that astronaut playing a woman. You know, that one of those bloke ones, and I was like, oh, so they just know exactly what they're doing.
Maybe they've been MK Ultra and they do actually believe it. You know, that is on the table, but I don't think so. I think they're just Freemasons, like, and they just go along with the agenda because what they're told is because what you've got to remember, they're all ex-military or they're part of the military, isn't it, NASA? They're part of the military. They just told that they're doing it for the safety of their country. You know, it's on a need-to-know basis, isn't it? Most astronauts probably didn't know that the Russians were doing it like with them. It was all sort of like combined. They probably thought, oh yeah, it's a space race.
The bit I find really strange is we're supposed to be at war, and we had the Cold War, and in the middle of the Cold War, Russia and America were doing all these experiments together, military ones. So it's all just rubbish with the Cold War and all that. It's all rubbish. Everything
is. Well, I see. I mean, I'm starting to question like Chernobyl now. I see a program with that Ben Fogel bloke, and that to give him, he got special permission to go into Chernobyl. And now they covered it all over, you know. Now, there's a woman that lives there. She's in her 80s now, late 70s or 80s. And they told her to move out straight away. And they said to her, otherwise she's going to die of radiation poisoning. Well, now that's going all the way back to 1986, isn't it? And she's still alive today, as far as I know. And she lives like a few miles away. Bless her.
That was ridiculous. If you lived 5 miles one side of Chernobyl, you could live there. And if you lived 5 miles the other side, you couldn't. Who's heard of anything like that? And everybody's thinking that Fukushima's the same.
And the strangest thing is, there's like people now, you know, like you get ghost hunters, Karen, that go and stay in like haunted houses. You get people that go and stay in the dilapidated buildings of the nearest town. You know where the big wheel is and all that. That because the guy was taking that Ben Fogel round, like, and he was saying like, you know, what's in here? He said, well, we get like people that come and squat in here. I said, why? And they said because like they get a buzz out of thinking they're in somewhere they're not meant to go. Because what you got to remember, all that place was like derelict art was, wasn't it? It's been run to rack and ruin. But
look at that glistening on that boat.
Bloody hell, yeah. Happen? Now my question is, yeah, Chernobyl happened. Is the radiation poisoning as bad as what they said? You know, I mean, I know a lot of the troops that went up on the roof apparently died quite soon afterwards. But like I said, this woman now, she's in her 80s, she's still alive, which I find quite surprising. She's very near. I think it's called Paparat or something like that, the nearest like big town. But it was quite interesting. He had to get special permission to go there, but he was only allowed to go in there for 30 seconds. Well, they say it was down to one bloke. He was like a newbie, and he caused it. He pressed the wrong bloody button. Like, you know, like when you take the driving lesson or something, like, and then say, oh, don't press that, like, that does this. Apparently, it was this geezer, like, and he just sort of like went, oh, what's this for? You know, like, oh, can I just try that? Hello, John, got a new motor. What's this switch over here for? It's gone like that, and apparently that's how it bloody went up. And they, you know, it's like they turned around and said, oh, now it's gonna reach critical mass and blow up. Now, is that true? That's what we've been told. It's debatable, isn't it? It is debatable. We don't know.
Anyway, so what's the roundup for? Interdimensional.
So we've gone through a lot of stuff. We're probably going to do something else tomorrow, but we've gone all the way through. I want to save a little bit.
Interdimensional, animals and Yugi. Well,
Yuri Gagarin.
Animals.
Well, interdimensional. So we've done it all, really, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've gone right across the board. Well, what we're doing tomorrow, like everyone says we're transgender or something. Well, everyone else is getting on board, so we might as well do a bit of transgender. I don't know much about it. I have no idea.
We'll be back tomorrow.
We'll be back tomorrow,
Gary's
folks.
Here
anyway,
for a few days.
I'm here until Friday, so you'll get something else tomorrow. we'll have to just try and think of something. We cover a lot of subjects today. Maybe we'll just do like a mix and match them all and do a bit of everything.
Sounds good to me,
whatever comes into
Gary.
head.
Thanks for the hangout.
Wish I had a kiss, and I love everyone out there in the truth community. Keep up the good work, and see you soon, folks.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.